Breaking news, the environmental tyranny is over. The EPA has now decided that they don't have the authority to enforce the Clean Air Act or these waivers that allowed California to try to reduce emissions by 35% and go gas-free by 2030. Roll the intro. So what is up, guys? Welcome on back to TK's Garage. This is massive news. I've talked about this before, and I told you that the EPA Administrator, Lee Zeldin, had until today, and at the time of me recording this video, it is the 19th. You guys will probably see it on the morning of the 20th, unless I get a wild hair and decide to drop it this evening, but it'll probably be tomorrow morning. But anyways, this is coming over from Reuters. U.S. EPA submits Biden approval of California EV plan to Congress. Let me get into this part and then I'll talk about what it means. But basically, if the EPA felt that they didn't have the authority to enforce any of this stuff or enforce the Clean Air Act, for example, then they would basically rescind their authority and then submit it to Congress for review. That is what's happened here. What does that mean? As I've been saying for weeks and weeks and weeks, the Environmental Protection Agency is not a constitutionally backed agency, meaning like they don't have the authority to issue these fines. They don't have the authority to come knock down your door at your shop because you're doing diesel deletes. And with this today, it tells you right here that the EPA has said unequivocally that they are not enforcing this law. They do not have the constitutional authority to enforce the law in the Clean Air Act. They don't have the ability to enforce the regulations, the made up rules that EPA has done over the years. And they've now given it to Congress to make a decision. And see, this is the part, at least for so there's two sides, right? You got two political parties here in the United States. And the Democrats kind of screwed up here because this reminds me of what they call the nuclear option, which happened for judges and stuff in the Senate back when the senator here from my state, Harry Reid, was the majority leader and basically, kind of got rid of the filibuster in terms of federal judges. And instituting that nuclear option has come back to bite the Democrats in the ass. And doing this same thing with the environment and the EV mandates and the waivers for California, for CARB and everything else, guess what that's done? It's come back to bite them in the ass, because not only are they going to lose CARB, and not only are the California regulations going to be deemed unconstitutional and just shut down completely. You know how they do smog checks every year? They've now, it's like they play these games, right? And it happens on both sides. But they play these games with policy. And then when the other party gets into power, they smack them for it. And that's what's happening here. And not only are they going to lose the ability for these waivers and to set emission standards and the like, they're going to lose it all. They're going to lose their smog checks. They may lose the entire Clean Air Act. As it says here, it could get repealed. It's literally a matter of paperwork. And it would technically save the country billions upon billions of dollars to do so and supercharge the economy. Because now it would literally give auto manufacturers the ability to be like, cool, we can go back to building reliable engines with none of this emissions crap on it anymore. No AFM, no displacement on demand, no EGRs, no, none of that crap. Gone. See you later. Done. But let's go ahead and get into the article. The California plan adopted by 11 states requires 35% zero-emission vehicles by 2026. That's next year. EPA also submitting 2 other waivers to Congress, including one on heavy trucks. Automakers say California rules are not achievable, while states say crucial to meeting environmental targets. The U.S. EPA said on Wednesday it submitted the Biden administration's approval of California's landmark plan to end the sale of gasoline-only vehicles by 2035 to Congress for review and potential repeal. Bang. The decision by the new Trump administration gives the Republican-led Congress a chance to repeal the Biden decision to grant California a waiver under the Clean Air Act for its program under the Congressional Review Act. As a candidate, President Donald Trump vowed to rescind approvals granted by the EPA to California to require more EVs and tighter vehicle emission standards. Those rules have been adopted by 11 other states, including New York, Massachusetts, and Oregon. EPA Administrator Zeldin, who was nominated by Trump, said the American people are struggling to make ends meet while dealing with rules that take away their ability to choose a safe and affordable vehicle for their families. California's rules require 35% of vehicles in the 2026 model year to be zero-emission vehicles, a figure automakers say is impossible to meet given current sales, rising to 68% by 2030. The state says the rule is crucial to meeting greenhouse gas emissions reduction targets and cutting smog-forming pollutants. The EPA under former President Joe Biden took the position that the waiver was not a regulation and therefore not reviewable by Congress. It remains an open question if Congress will be able to legally vote on the issue. California first announced a plan in 2020 to require that by 2035, at least 80% of new cars sold had to be electric and up to 20% plug-in hybrid models. The EPA also granted in December a waiver for California's omnibus low NOx regulation for heavy-duty highway and off-road vehicles and engines. The EPA in March of 2022 reinstated a waiver for California to set its own tailpipe emission limits in zero-emission vehicles through 2025, reversing a 2019 decision under Trump's first administration. The EPA on Wednesday submitted the omnibus waiver and 2022 waiver to Congress for possible repeal. The U.S. Department of Transportation Department, or the DOT, is separately moving to undo aggressive fuel economy rules by Biden. The Alliance for Automotive Innovation, representing GM, Volkswagen, Toyota Motor Company, and other automakers, argue that California's vehicle rules will depress economic activity, increase costs, and limit vehicle choice, and requires automakers to sell fewer vehicles in the 12 states to comply. So basically, what does this mean? In the next probably 5 to 7 days, you'll see a lot talk from both sides about the Clean Air Act. Most likely on the Democrat side, they're going to cry. They're going to cry. They're going to cry and complain that we want dirty air, dirty water, and rivers on fire. That's most likely what's going to happen there. Needless to say, we shall see. I find it extremely interesting, will be the best way for me to put it. Because now that the EPA has said, hey, this isn't within our purview, this isn't our authority, Congress has to decide this. Here. That's it. That is a wrap, ladies and gentlemen. There's literally, there could also be a possibility here where the EPA completely goes away. If Congress does this, they do repeal these things in the next 7 to 10 days. The EPA is really just a waste of money. I mean, if DOT is also monitoring the same thing and DOJ is the enforcement action, you really don't need the EPA if it's not going out to go after shops for defeat devices. And if Congress repeals these acts, then defeat devices are legal. Shocker. Well, there you guys have it. There's your breaking news. Hopefully you're celebrating like me, because I'm excited, because now that this is here, especially with pending legislation like the Stop Carb Act, directly going after California, other legislation that's pending that would make it illegal. There's legislation that's being proposed that will make it illegal for states to do smog checks, state refs, all kinds of stuff, right? And basically, they're targeting California. But it would make it where Massachusetts can't do that crap. Now, the one thing people, they've been doing safety inspections for 50 years, TK. Yeah, I grew up in Boston. I know. I had to have an inspection sticker every year. But it wasn't like smog checks. They want to make sure that it's not Florida, where you can just get a VIN number and go to the DMV and get a tag and have no brakes, a rotted frame, the body holding the vehicle together. That actually happens in Florida. Or in Virginia, where I've lived when I worked at Fort Meade, same thing. They put the sticker in the middle of your windshield. They do a safety inspection. They make sure all your lights are working. That's fine. Doing safety inspection, make sure you have tail lights and your car's not a complete piece of shit on the road. Fine. Smog checks, all this other crap. Oh, you don't have a factory catalytic converter. We're going to have to impound your vehicle, or you're going to have to sell it. Because that's what they do in California. So by them proposing these legislations, these bills for legislation, it will go and put a direct stop to states like California, New York, Massachusetts, Connecticut from making these Mickey Mouse BS rules. But anyways, there you have it. The EPA no longer has authority, according to them, to enforce the Clean Air Act. They're taking it out of their hands, and they've now given it to Congress. Let's see what Congress does. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Give this video a big thumbs up if you like what I do. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. And as always, stay petty, my friends.